Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the best ward in the District of Columbia. My name is Councilmember Wendell Felder, and it is a pleasure to be here this evening in front of each and every one of you. Thank you all for coming out tonight to Ward 7's Town Hall as we continue our conversations to discuss the future of the RFK site and the Washington Commanders returning back home to the District of Columbia. I would like to begin by first taking a moment to thank the amazing staff at St. Colette's for opening up their doors to support tonight's event. Thank you for being tremendous community partners. Please give them a round of applause. I would also like to extend thanks to our special guest tonight from the Washington Commanders, Mr. Kurtan Mehta, Vice President of External Affairs, and Andrew Van Horn, Head of Real Estate. Thank you both for being here. I would be remiss if I didn't take a moment to recognize our mayor, Mayor Muriel Bowser, and my at-large council colleague, Kenyon McDuffie, which you will hear from both of them shortly. Thank you both for joining us. And lastly, I want to take a moment to thank members of my team, the staff of at-large Councilmember Kenyon McDuffie, and the staff of the Executive Office of the Mayor for making tonight's event possible. Please give them a round of applause. It has been almost 2 weeks since my office hosted the RFK Town Hall at the Strand. During the event, we had an opportunity to hear directly from neighbors who shared their excitement, hopes, and concerns about the redevelopment of the RFK site and bringing the Commanders home. Now, as the Ward 7 council member, whether you are in favor of this project or not, my office is committed to engaging with neighbors throughout each stage of this process by bringing you the facts, listening to your concerns, and dispelling any misinformation that you may have heard, which is why we want to continue our engagement with you. It's also important to share with you why I believe it is critical that we support this deal. Now, first, it is no secret, Ward 7 needs an anchor. For far too long, Ward 7 has not seen its fair share of investments, and now we have a chance to change that through this project. We've watched other opportunities pass us by, while other wards across the city have seen an influx and have reaped the benefits of new grocery stores, restaurants, jobs, and other neighborhoods serving amenities. We want and deserve the same thing here in Ward 7. Another reason why I support this project, the site has sat vacant for decades. The time is now to take advantage of this once-in-a-generation opportunity, not just as a stadium, but as a community asset that creates jobs, generate tax revenue, and deliver tangible benefits to our families. Here's another reason why I support this project. With the project of this magnitude, the district cannot do it alone and should not have to. The Washington Commanders are making the largest private investment in the history of the city. This public-private partnership gives DC the opportunity to leverage private investment while limiting the city's financial exposure, which means that the capital dollars that will go into this project today will produce the revenue needed to support critical programs and services that our residents rely on each and every day. And finally, some of you in this room may be aware, or may not, that I was a former athlete. I previously ran track. And I understand how important it is to have places and spaces where our athletes can practice, which is another reason why I support this project. One thing that has not been highlighted as much and should be is the fact that this deal includes a high-quality, state-of-the-art sportsplex right here in Ward 7. Which means that our athletes, families, and communities will have access to high-quality sports facilities where they can harness their skills and not have to go to travel outside the district. Now, while I support this deal, my job, our job, is to make sure this deal aligns with the needs of our ward. That is why my team is reviewing every line in the term sheet with a fine-tooth comb. We're asking tough questions. We're negotiating for stronger community benefits, and most importantly, we're making sure this process is for the community and led by the community, which is why my office has established a community advisory board, which you'll hear more about later on during this program. And with that, I have the opportunity to introduce someone who really does not need no introduction, and that is our mayor, my mayor, Mayor Muriel Bowser.
Well, hello, Ward 7. It's great to be here, and I want to thank Wendell for that introduction, for his leadership, and for convening us all together here. I'm joined by members of my team, including Deputy Mayor Nina Albert. Some of our agency directors are also in the audience. I have a fairly lengthy set of slides to go through, but I think it's important to set the context for what we're discussing, and then we will be able to answer your questions. I want to thank at-large Councilmember Kenyon McDuffie for being here as well. Kenyon's leadership of the Economic Development Committee is very important, not just for our sports investments, but for the growth agenda that we will be advancing for the District of Columbia. I want to acknowledge former Council Chairman Kwame Brown and your neighbor, so please give Kwame a big round of applause, as well as former Councilmember Bill Lightfoot. Good to see you, Bill, and my neighbor. So let me kind of start with this statement that you're going to hear a lot over the next days that we're discussing the future of the city, and that's the need to shift our economy. Our economy has shifted, not because we wanted it to, but because the actions of the federal government are requiring us to move very quickly from an economy that has relied on federal jobs to one that is more diverse. And part of diversifying our economy is leaning into the things that are working and working well. And our sports and entertainment economy is one that is delivering for us. And we'll talk a little bit about that. So we see this opportunity as not just one that we've been working on for 10 years and it brings our team home and it helps us transform 180 acres, but it is the right amount and the right partner and the right private investment in the city that we need, in particular right now. Let me say a little bit more about RFK. Now, you know that this site has been under federal control for several decades. It was created for the purposes of the stadium that you see now. In fact, the legislation that we just replaced only allowed for a stadium to be used there. So even after our football team and baseball team and soccer team stopped using RFK Stadium, we really couldn't do anything with it except build a stadium. And so our focus has always been, in order for the city to invest in the site, we would need to have a mix of uses. And so now we are in the position to have a mix of uses there, including a football stadium. So RFK is 180 acres. It's a very large site. Nina likes to describe it this way, that it would fit 4 DC wharfs, okay? So it's a very large site. And so sometimes it's hard for people to think about it as anything other than what it is right now, a stadium with a sea of parking. But what I need you to think about is a stadium plus housing, plus parks, plus recreation, plus entertainment. And that is the RFK that we want to build. So before we get into talking about RFK specifically, I want to just ask you to think about a similar project that was hotly debated in the 2005, 2006, 2007 era, and that is Nationals Park. And I don't think anybody will argue that Nationals Park and the development that surrounded it wasn't a good thing for the district. In fact, it's been such a good thing that we will be able to pay off the bonds that we needed to use to build Nats Park 10 years early. So that's a good thing. So you can see the before and after pictures. You can see that the number of residents that we have attracted to the area who pay taxes, 500,000 new homes, over 97 bars and restaurants, more retail and office space, and 6 hotels. Nationals Park has been an out-of-the-park success for DC. And, we won a World Series. So all of those things are good. And more than that, like all economic development projects, there was a lot of debate around it. Was anybody around for the Nats Park debate? Anybody remember that? Anybody remember the discussions that say, well, we shouldn't do that because the billionaires should pay for it, or we should be building schools, or it's not going to work out, or it won't be a unanimous vote. All of those things happen then too. And so I just want to kind of set the stage that it is quite normal for us to be talking about how best to use the district's money, but I also don't want us to kind of recreate the arguments or point to arguments that apply to other areas that haven't been applicable to us here in DC. We have a great track record in the district for investing in sports and having those sports investments turn into increased revenue, more businesses, and more residents for the District of Columbia. I've also said, and I believe very strongly, having worked on a number of these large federal parcels now, that having an anchor that is an NFL franchise is the fastest and surest route for us to develop this campus. So what do I mean when I say that? This team is going to bring $2.7 billion to this site. We don't have anybody else saying that they want to bring $2.7 billion to this site. We have a use that will be a world-class modern stadium with a roof. And we will have a partner who will be highly incentivized to get the additional parcel leading to the stadium into active and productive use. So the way I see it, we have 2030 as our North Star, which is why I'm asking everybody to be very focused on the agreement that we have crafted with the team and the budget I will submit to the council. And in 2030, we will have 2 possibilities. One will be opening a world-class stadium, entertainment district that is being ready for the parks and housing and other development. The other choice is to be planning and to be looking at asphalt. That's what would be happening in 2030 if we don't go with a sure anchor that will bring $2.7 billion. So that's what I want you to consider. And that is why we drove so very hard to get control of the land, which was no small feat. I literally have been working on it for the 10 years that I've been your mayor. And on a late night in December, we got it done. And so that is very good for Washington, D.C. And since last June, I would say we have been working in earnest with the commanders. I have been thrilled with the Josh Harris ownership team. And we agreed then that we have the best site in this region. The team has played there for 30 years, I think. We have the transportation infrastructure, and we have a vision that will bring our community, not just our football team, but a vision that activates the entire site. And so this is how we would divide the site. And this is a, how should I say, it's just a vision. So nothing is set in stone, but these are how we know all of the uses can fit on the site. The Plaza District, you see, approaches the stadium. The stadium is about where the current stadium is. The Riverfront District would allow us to bring housing, retail, and restaurants. Kingman Park District, we envision as housing and recreation. The Recreation District would, of course, have the fields at RFK, as well as what Councilmember referenced, our own state-of-the-art indoor sports facility for our kids of all ages in the District of Columbia. This site is also required to have 30% green space, and so we will incorporate amazing parks here. And the stretch along the Anacostia, there's about 30 acres that cannot be developed at all and will always exist as green space. So this is how the pieces can work. You noticed, and I know that there's been a lot of discussion about where the parking garages could go or should go, and we're here for that discussion for sure. I want to emphasize that this stadium will be roofed. And so in addition to having the Commanders' home games, playoff games, Super Bowl game, it can also have a lot of other major events. Events that we can't currently host. You know that the United States will have the World Cup, right? We're excited about that? You know what's not exciting is that we don't have any games here. And we don't have any games here because we don't have a stadium that can support it. But we will have a stadium if we, do get on the good foot here when the Women's World Cup comes to the United States in, I think, 2032. So we will be ready for that. Additionally, people laugh when I say this, but, Taylor Swift passed us by, Beyonce's in Landover. So all these things are world-class events that a world-class city should be able to host. So we will add a very important venue to our portfolio of venues in the district. So let's move on, and I've already talked about the district's investment. And we are committed to investing in the horizontal development required for the stadium and the site. And let me be clear about this. If there's not a stadium, we would still be investing in infrastructure, just like we do right next door at Hill East, just like we've done at St. Elizabeth's, where we've invested in infrastructure. In just about every case where we have received the federal parcel, we have helped prepare that land for development using district capital dollars. And that's what we propose here. So the stadium will be a huge investment. And it is because of where it is and how important development on the monumental axis is in the nation's capital. It will be nothing short of a spectacular design and delivered exceptionally well. The district has committed $500 million hard, no extras, any overruns will be on the team for the horizontal construction, in addition to committing to support 2 of the parking garages. And one would be the Sports and Convention Authority would commit $181 million for one of the parking garages, and the district would, and it's a kind of a nuanced way that we would do it, but in total, $175 million for the other parking garage. We would leverage an existing fee that was currently used for the baseball stadium, and we would extend that fee to continue to be collected to support the bonds that would support the football stadium. So again, I know that there is a lot of conversation about should we be using public dollars to support this development? How does it compare? Is it a good deal? Should we tweak it? Which are legitimate questions. But I do want to let you know that we, of course, have done our homework. We've hired the best teams, the bankers. We've worked with our CFO. We've worked with the best stadium consultants in the nation to pull together a plan that works for the district and gets us to a great agreement. But I want to put it into some context. Capital One Arena, you all remember, many of you will remember when Mayor Barry and Abe Poland made a deal to bring the Washington Wizards, I guess the Bullets at the time, back to Washington, D.C. So you can see there that at the time, it was a project worth $260 million, with $60 million of public money and $200 million of private money. Nats Park, it was a $701 million project. It was $670 million of public money. So we basically built Nats Park, and we own it. Audi Field, a $400 million project, about $150 million in public money and $250 million in private money. Care First Arena at St. Elizabeth's, it was a $69 million project. We basically funded it all to kickstart Congress Heights on the St. Elizabeth's campus, and about $5 million in private dollars. Cap One Arena. Now this is after, the first investment of $260. They are undergoing an $800 million renovation, $515 million of public investment, and about $285 million of private investment. So you can see that this project is in the range of investments. All these deals are different, all the sites are different, and the needs of the neighborhoods may be different as well. But this is the context that I hope that we will refer to when talking about the commanders, which is next. So the public, when we compare this deal to the previous slide, we're talking about an overall public investment to the total project cost of about 24%, which is lower than the previous 5 stadiums. And because of the very strong investment that the Commanders is bringing, will bring a total project cost and revenue back to the city that's pretty substantial. So when the stadium opens in 2030, we also want to have a campus underway, not just the stadium. So on day one, there will be more infrastructure investment, including $202 million on campus development unrelated to the stadium. It would also, our proposal, include a study for WMATA to study their needs and capacity We believe that the existing transit network will support stadium operations on day one. We do believe we should study when this campus is fully built out with new residents if we will need additional transit capacity. So let's talk about the capacity. We know that it has served a stadium as a stadium before. We have most recent experience with the Nats and with DC United. We have 3 metro lines, bus lines, streetcar, bike lanes, and trails. Since all of the teams have played there, we have a robust offering of other modalities, including ride share, our bikes, and scooters. And so let me say a bit about housing, and we've gotten different viewpoints from the neighborhood about housing. When we started this process 10 years ago, probably the #1 need in the district was affordable housing. Since then, we've invested over $1 billion and created 36,000 new units across the city. And 10 years later, one of our biggest needs is still affordable housing. So we need to be building housing all the time, everywhere. And what's very good about this site is 20 years ago when Mayor Williams was talking about the Anacostia Waterfront Initiative, a lot of goals were laid out as it related to housing. And those goals still apply here with a 30% affordability expectation on this site as well. These parcels will need to be zoned, and we expect when that process is complete, up to 5,000 to 6,000 units could be built there, and up to 10,000 more people. More Washingtonians would be living there and enjoying the retail, restaurants, and recreation. I will say, going back maybe, I guess it's been a couple years since one of our first Kingman Park meetings about RFK. The biggest group and request was that we maintain the fields at RFK. And we think we're able to do that with phasing to maintain the fields, not only to maintain them, but not to disrupt them for long periods of time during the construction. So we're able to do that. We've also included in our capital costs, so when everybody totals up the dollars, part of the dollars, is $89 million, is for the DPR sports complex. And I've already mentioned one of the requirements of the legislation is that 30% of the total campus be parks and green space. And we will be able to build more connections to Kingman Island and Anacostia River Trail. And additionally, the district will award a contract for designing an improved network of trails, an amphitheater, and an environmental education center. And I'll just add that the legislation also designates the campus as the RFK Memorial Campus. And I've had the opportunity to meet with some members of Robert F. Kennedy's family, and they are encouraged and look forward to his legacy being brought back to life on the campus. So I'll go quickly now. I've already mentioned some of the additional events. We believe 1.4 million people will attend events in every year, including people who will stay overnight and use our hotel rooms. And you can see some of the different activations that we could expect here. We also know that part of our investment is to create more jobs for DC residents and more revenue. So the number of permanent jobs would be up to 2,000, $14 billion in direct spending in the district, and $2 billion in total taxes. That's just for the stadium area. And in the mixed-use districts, you can see the additional jobs created, direct spending, taxes collected, and 5,000 to 6,000 new homes, as I mentioned, for a total revenue of $4 billion in taxes from both the stadium and mixed-use districts. So, in order for all of this to happen, this is kind of a rough timeline. We will, as I mentioned, submit all of the enabling language to the council with the budget, in addition to the capital expenses that will run through 2029 in the budget. In the summer and fall, we will be able to commence planning for the parks and housing and recreation. By 2026, we expect, that's a year from this fall, to have a stadium site groundbreaking. Early 29, we would be able to have a plaza district groundbreaking. By the summer of 2030, we would be able to open our sportsplex. It probably needs a new name, so let's just start thinking of a name. And by the fall, we'll be ready for opening day. And this is a concept drawing of the inside of the stadium looking west to the best city in the world.
Thank you, Mayor. I think you started something by providing remarks sitting down. So now I have the pleasure of introducing my colleague, Kenya McDuffie, who will provide some brief remarks and share with neighbors what to expect from the legislative side of things. Councilmember McDuffie.
Thank you, Councilmember Felder. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm at-large Councilmember Kenya McDuffie. I also chair the Council's Committee on Business and Economic Development. And I want to recognize Mayor Bowser, Nina Albert, and as well as Kirtan with the Commanders, and my friend and your Ward 7 Councilmember, Wendell Felder. That's a pause to give him a round of applause. And I want to thank you all for being here tonight as well. I really appreciate it. This is my second meeting. I attended the first meeting that the council member convened, and as long as my schedule permits, I'm going to try to make sure that I attend every meeting that he invites me to attend so that I can hear from neighbors. I really appreciate you all's time and your commitment to shaping the future of Ward 7 and the District of Columbia with this transformational project. Let me just say, and I want to be crystal clear, this moment is bigger than football. This is bigger than football. I think a new Washington Commanders stadium at RFK is more than nostalgia, although I have some great memories watching the Super Bowl and attending the Super Bowl parades. But it's also more than sports. It's about unlocking real, lasting, inclusive economic opportunity for our residents, for our workers, and for our small businesses. I think at a time when, and the mayor talked about this earlier, when our economy is facing real headwinds, when we have fewer federal jobs, when we have rising uncertainty, when we have all types of anxiety, when we see slow growth of our local economy, we need this project. We need the jobs. We need the jobs. Our residents need those jobs. Our businesses need those contracting opportunities, and our neighborhoods need this project as well. So, it's very important that you all continue to be engaged. Our neighborhoods need the nearly $4 billion of investment that the mayor laid out in her presentation. And I will see, and I'm sure we all will see and will appreciate the ripple effects from that investment, as we've seen ripple effects from the investments at Audi Field, at Nats Park, as well as at Gallery Place. So let's talk a little bit about process. The mayor said that she's she already submitted a budget to the CFO. The CFO has a 10-day period. We anticipate getting the budget to the council on May 27th of this year. And I think a lot of you all are familiar with the process of the council because I've seen you all down at City Hall testifying during budget oversight hearings. And I anticipate I'll see some of you all once we open up that process. We intend to have hearings on the entire budget, but specifically asking questions about this deal. As we've done in the past with deals like Audi Field and Monumental Sports, the council intends to ask questions around accountability, around spending, and around what the benefits that are going to accrue to residents across the District of Columbia. Now, what does this project need to deliver? This project absolutely has to deliver good paying jobs and some skilled apprenticeships. It's got to deliver for our local and minority-owned contractors. It's got to deliver for our youth sports community. We've got to see some quality internship opportunities, some workforce training opportunities for our residents. This project also needs to deliver a real opportunity for marginalized communities, returning citizens, people who are looking for a way to get into the workforce now more than ever. It also has to deliver a community benefits agreement that is strong and that has teeth, not just talk, but actual teeth, so that the project's community benefits accrue to the people who are most impacted, like the folks in this room, across Ward 7, and other communities along the Anacostia River. Now, there's also some laws that require that this project have 35% CBE, Certified Business Enterprise Utilization. And I'm happy to say, as I have in the past, I'm going to push for more than 35% utilization. To be clear, that is a floor, it is not a ceiling. And just as we did with Monumental Sports, we moved that to 40%. And I'm going to have those conversations, as I'm sure some of my colleagues will as well. There's also a requirement around hiring of DC residents through our First Source program, as well as a requirement that there be a project labor agreement, because we want good paying jobs for our union workers as well. And so this is, I'm going to end by saying the council has a very important role to make sure this process is transparent, to make sure communities across the District of Columbia and residents have an opportunity to ask questions and to weigh in along the way, and to make sure that you all help to drive this process, and that in the end, you all see yourselves reflected in the outcome of this deal. That is my priority. I intend to make sure that we do that along the way and keep things on track so that we can get this deal done and we can get the Washington Commanders back to Washington, D.C., where they rightfully belong.
Thank you, Councilmember McDuffie. Neighbors across the ward have heard me say this on a number of occasions. This is our ward, and we're in this together. And that's why over the past several months, my office has been working hard to make sure Ward 7 voices are not only heard, but are central to the conversations across this historic redevelopment opportunity. We're holding town halls like this one to bring you the facts, not just headlines. We've hosted community listening sessions, met neighbors across the ward, from civic associations and everyday residents, to hear about their priorities, your concerns, your hopes for what this site can become. And the reality is we're just getting started. Next slide, please. I'm excited to share that we've launched an RFK Community Benefits Survey. This survey is your chance to directly shape the future of the RFK campus, whether you care most about affordable housing, local hiring, youth recreation, transportation, small business opportunities, or green space. We want to hear from you. So I'm calling on each of you, whether you lived here for 5 generations or you just moved here last year, please complete this survey, share it with your neighbors, and stay engaged. This is your community, and your voice should shape what happens next. The results of this survey, along with information obtained from our engagement opportunities, will be reviewed and used to guide the work of our newly established RFK Community Advisory Board, which will help guide, advise, and monitor the development and implementation of the Community Benefits Agreement. The board is comprised of community members across each commission in Ward 7. And I think it's important to note that while this meeting is about RFK, I am laser focused on making sure that communities like Deanwood, Marshall Heights, Capitol Gateway, Parkside, and our downtown business district, Northeast Heights, all see the type of investments that these communities deserve. And I strongly believe that this deal will help spur those investments. So let's make sure we get it right, or rather, let's make sure we do it the right way together. And with that, let's jump into questions. Thank you, neighbors.
So there are always going to be some technical difficulties, right? And we lived through that, we worked through that, and we're going to process through that, right? Right? Right. So we've got that key word, right? Respectful. So if the mics do go out again, it's okay. It's life. We're just going to, just from the diaphragm, right? But we're not yelling at each other. Let's be real. Okay. So some ground rules. We want to let you know that if you do have a question, if you do have a comment, just raise your hand. We are going to have roving microphones come to you. So can I see where our MOCR representatives are? Our MOCR representatives? Okay. All right, we're going to ask that you keep your questions. Think about what your question is going to be ahead of time, right? And that helps because we want to hear from as many of you as possible. So make sure that you keep your questions to about 60 seconds in length. We did have a QR code up on the screen for the community benefits survey, but guess what? Paper is good sometimes. And so we do have a benefits survey on paper that you can also pick up at the end of the session. So let's get started with your questions. Let's go to table. I did see over here table number 10. Table number 10.
Okay. My name is David Rudman. I'm in Ward 6, although maybe it'll be Ward 7 after the next redistricting. I really appreciate all the hard work that these public servants are putting into making the city better. And I know it's a complicated thing. I very much support redeveloping the site in a lot of the ways that are described. I utterly oppose creating a stadium. It looks to me like the law doesn't actually require that. When I look at the image of the stadium, I see a tragedy. I see young men of superb talent smashing each other's brains out. I see a space that's empty most of the time, that could be a place for lots of people to live, not just drive to. And I just don't get, Greater Washington says that the full cost when you factor in foregone tax revenue, this kind of stuff is like $5 or $6 billion. To move the 50-yard line 5 or 6 miles is $1 billion a mile. I just don't understand why that's a priority versus more housing. Thank you.
Well, I wouldn't accept those greater Washington numbers, number one, so keep reading. And we're happy to talk to you a little bit more about why they are wrong. And I also would point you to the benefits that would accrue to this site, and that would accrue faster by having an anchor that will bring $2.7 billion. So that's how now you can, and I know some people don't like football, some people prefer soccer or baseball, but this is our football team. It played there for 30 years. And it has been a stadium. That's what it was created for. And that has been a vision that not everybody likes, but a lot of people do. And it is one that will help us Like baseball helped us at the Capitol Riverfront, like Audi Field has helped us at Buzzard Point, and like the ESA has helped us in Congress Heights.
All right, let's see. Question. I'm just going to take it randomly. I'm going to take it 13. Here we go. Okay.
My name is Barbara D. Morgan, and I'm a lifetime resident of Washington, D.C., native, and I live in Ward 7. I am here because I want to see trades put back in D.C. public schools so that our children will have an opportunity to pick up some of these jobs and work when you all start to be building the stadium. I might not be around, but I want our children to be a part of this.
Thank you, thank you. Well, Ms. Morgan, I want to thank you for that. And as Council Member mentioned, this project will have a project labor agreement, which will be an agreement with the building trades to construct a lot of this project. Now, we will have a carve-out, which is going to sound a little different to some people, and let me explain why, for work up to $15 million. And you would not have to be a part of the building trades to qualify for that work. And this is why we have that, because a lot of our small and local businesses aren't building trade shops, and if all of the project was PLA, then those businesses would be cut out of working on the project. So this is something that we will advance with the PLA. It's a hybrid with PLA for work that's more than $15 million.
21, please. 21. And can you say your name and the ward that you're from, please? Thank you.
My name is Michael Letterman, resident of Ward 7 in Kingman Park. And thank you so much for all the work you all have been doing. I think it's incredible. I know it's very delicate, so thank you. I think my biggest concern as a community member very close to the stadium and the parking structures is the parking structures, particularly G2 and G3. And just my concern that they're going to create a physical and a psychological barrier between the community and the DPR space, the river walk. So I just would ask that you would consider alternative placements for those. I circulated a little flyer at the beginning of this. This doesn't have to be the answer, but I don't know if you guys got that up there.
I saw it. Somebody sent it to me on the way over here.
Okay, that's just one idea. I know there's other people that are working on other proposals in the neighborhood, but I would just ask that you take those seriously and consider relocating G2 and G3, or at least one of them somehow.
Michael, I thought that was a very thoughtful, suggestion. And I want to emphasize that these are kind of placement ideas, but it's not set in stone. So absolutely, we can consider that. Our consideration at this point, and I just want to be clear, even in the concept drawing that you see, the housing is meant to go in front of the garages, so that is not what you would see from the street. But I think we're all open to it, and I know that the team, and certainly we will be hiring people to help us think about placement. So thank you for that suggestion.
All right, and I think we're going to take table number 6. Say your name, please, and the ward you're from.
Hi, my name is Denise. I'm actually from East Wing Gardens. I'm a Ward 7 owner, actually, resident. It's two-part, my question. Number one, I'm hoping I can get more information on the businesses that will have access to the retail space. Are you going to keep that looking for small businesses that are actually in the city, being able to get that retail space first? Yoga spots, dry cleaners, but they're from Ward 7. That's just a question if you can put it out in the future.
Okay.
My number one concern is public safety. We're understaffed with our police force. our 911 is kind of getting back to being normal. I'm nervous of a 60,000 seat facility on a game day or a Taylor Swift concert, and I try and call for EMT. Who's going to be handling that? Who's going to be paying for it? Because I'm assuming we're going to have to get people from Maryland and Virginia, police force. Who's handling public safety? I don't want Navy Yard, basically. I don't want hooligans.
Okay, well, that's a larger discussion, okay? We need to have it. And we will be having a discussion about how if children can't behave and their parents can't control them, what the city needs to do to keep them safe and to keep our entertainment district safe. So we're going to have that discussion separate from this. But in all of our sports venues, and we just had a very good exercise with Monumental Sports about how we can support them with public safety, and that includes traffic safety and parking and movements around the venue on game nights. And we built on what we'd learned with Nats Park. And quite frankly, we didn't have the same package with Monumental Sports for many years, but now we do. So I think we have a very good idea of, with the number of seats and what type of event, what type of MPD package we need, and what type of DDOT package we need. And we will support that like we do the other venues with our MPD operations, our DPW operations, and our DDOT operations. Yes, go ahead. Sure.
It's not really working. So
It actually is working really well.
Oh, because I've been there and it's unsafe to me at Navy Yard. But if you guys are going to do this in the future, I just didn't want us to be carrying that cost without kind of a plan to bring some extra staff in. Are they going to step up and do some security as well?
Yes, they will have security, but like police protection is the city's responsibility. And when I was what I was describing earlier was for the sports venues. We are enhancing. We will be enhancing some rules around Navy Yard that are different. It's a different issue than venue operations.
And just sorry, I know it comes down, but the walking paths, there's no lighting, there's no emergency when you're bike riding. So even the scooters, as we do this entertainment venue, that walking.
Are you talking about at RFK now?
Well, you go after the RFK, you guys are going to develop it, but there's a real concern for the safety of, you're bringing a lot of younger people down to the metro and for Maryland, and you have kids running around. It's just safety.
I got it. Thank you.
Okay, hand raised, hand raised, hand raised. Table 14, please.
My name is Betsy Cavendish. I'm a resident of Ward 4, and I want to thank you all for your work. And I don't really have a question. I just wanted to rise in particular support of the Sportsplex facility. Both my girls ran track, indoor track for DCPS schools, and we had to go out to Prince George's Sports and Learning Center, which is right next to the current stadium. It's a long drive, it's not metro accessible, and it's ridiculous that the kids from DC have to have their sports championship games played there. Other invitationals were at Georgetown Prep. You can get to that on Metro if you want your kids to walk across Rockville Pike. Also ridiculous. So this is going to be a great thing for the kids to have, as well as all the other benefits you articulated.
Well,
thank you.
And just for full disclosure, Betsy's my lawyer, but also a DC mom and sportswoman, so thanks for that feedback.
All right, but let's go over to the right. Table 19, please.
Yes. Just keep talking. Hi.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, hi, I'm Mary Blackford. I am a Ward 7 baby. I grew up in Ward 7. I live in Ward 7. I own a business in Ward 7. And my question is, we talk a lot in this city about residential gentrification, but we don't have a lot of conversations about commercial gentrification. And we have a long history of legacy small-owned businesses in Ward 7, as well as black-owned businesses in Ward 7. And I just want to ask, is there any considerations for the type of funding that's going to go to small businesses in this particular project? Is this an opportunity for us to actually include some commercial inclusionary zoning like we do with housing, so that small businesses have a chance of survival? Because it is very expensive to have a business in Ward 7, and we don't see a lot of our businesses survive because of the cost. And so how are we working with small businesses to make sure that we actually survive in this development?
Okay, let's see if the council members want to add anything. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Murray, for that question. And I appreciate you for being a small business in Ward 7. As you and I have talked about this on a number of occasions, my office is trying to figure out what ways that we can provide support to small businesses through that concept of inclusionary zoning for commercial corridor areas as we continue to get set up as a part of my legislative priorities in the fall that will be included in my package. I think additionally, conversations like this help when you come out to the community and you share with me and other neighbors in terms of some of the challenges that small businesses face. As a part of the community benefits agreement, we do want to make sure that small businesses are taken into consideration. There is no foreign concept with other development projects, specifically mixed-use development projects across the board. There's a component that supports small and local businesses, whether it's providing discounted rates for rents or waiving your rent for a year or two to help you get stood up. So with that, I also will be working with the deputy mayor to continue to try to fund programs like the Neighborhood Prosperity Fund or food access, or the legislation that my council colleague pushed. What was it called that helped small business?
The Commercial Property Acquisition Fund.
Which is a good segue if you have anything.
Yeah,
else.
no, I appreciate that, council member. And Mary, I appreciate the question. You know, this is something that I care deeply about. As chair of the council's Committee on Business and Economic Development. And, you know, we've seen some really challenging times in the past where we've really galvanized around our small business community and done things legislatively, regulatory, to support them. And we worked with the executive on that. When COVID hit, there were a number of industries in our small business community that were really hit hard and hit first. And we put together a $100 million business grants program to support them through that pandemic. What Councilmember Felder has mentioned is one of the programs that I funded in the budget during the pandemic that the mayor has continued to support, and that has been a really popular program around the city, which is the Commercial Property Acquisition Fund that we've seen utilized by a number of small businesses, including businesses owned by women, black women, folks who look like you, folks who are from the communities where you're from, across our city, including in Wards 5. In fact, I think the first 2 awards went to women-owned businesses in Wards 5 and 7, and that program continues strong to this day and really gives folks the opportunity who are running their businesses successfully to actually acquire their commercial properties. And as Councilmember Felder mentioned, I think is extraordinarily important. I talked about it earlier. The community benefits agreement should reflect some of the things that we're hearing from you all today and what we've heard from residents at the last meeting, and that we will continue to hear from residents throughout this process. And so it's our responsibility to listen to you all and help shape ultimately what the agreement looks like. So I appreciate you mentioning that. We don't want you to be displaced or any other small businesses that are currently here today to be displaced when this project is said and done, or any point throughout the process of building this project.
And I think it's one more thing. I think it's important to mention this, and I should have led with this. If you live in Ward 7 and you're a small business owner and you want to have a seat at the table during this process, you should have a seat at the table. And as your council member, my job is to continue to advocate and push for you. So one of the things that I'm thinking about during this process is establishing a program called Ward 7 Builds, which will be comprised of small business owners who live in Ward 7 to make sure that we keep them abreast of opportunities as they become available during this process. You're welcome.
All right, we're going to take it over to table number 7. Table number 7. Please say your name and your ward.
That was fast. I asked to go last, but I guess we jumped up there. So my name is David Retland. I'm a very, very proud Ward 7 resident. I kind of wore it on my back right here. All I want to do is win a Super Bowl, so whatever that takes, I'm down. I want to parade down Pennsylvania Avenue with my Super Bowl gear on, all the, the Commanders and all the hoopla, so I think we deserve it, and I'm pretty excited. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Ward 7 Councilmember Felder. Thank you, Councilmember Kendra McDuffie and Nina and everybody who's making this dream work. So, it takes teamwork to make the dream work.
Amen.
All right, table 23. I've seen your hand up for a little bit now. Say your name and your ward, please.
I want to stand up. Okay. Okay. Hi, my name is Rebecca Morris, and I'm from Ward 7. And I have like 2 slight questions. One was about the construction jobs. A lot, like how you said, there's lots of construction schools or pathway schools for construction, whether it's HVAC, electrician, et cetera, in the city. However, they don't necessarily qualify for jobs in the city because you have to be a part of the union in order to get a job. And I had wanted to know, I think maybe you addressed it, that maybe that the people who are a part of like those programs could get a job, but I'm not sure how exactly if that was something that you guys were thinking about. A lot of times there are what do you call them, job fairs, but the job fairs are theater, because knowing that in order to get those jobs, you have to be a part of the union. You just have them just to have them. My second suggestion for businesses for Ward 7, a court for that, if there could be a spot just for a food truck lottery, and something for tents, where there's lots of, like, for the people who do farmers markets and stuff within Ward 7, they don't necessarily have a truck, but they cook and do things under a tent. So would there be a space for that when there's games? Or at least have a lottery so it can be swapped out? I would like to see that.
Who wants to talk about that?
Thanks for the question. That is, first of all, I love the food truck idea and the tent idea. I think that's something that we need to really think about, especially for tailgating in the early days. I think that seems like a really good way to move forward as the team comes back. On your initial question, look, I think one thing the mayor's talked about and has been very wise to emphasize is that this is the single largest private investment in the district's history. But another thing that's really important is that this is the single largest workforce program in the city's history. We think this project will be the largest union project, the largest CB project, the largest small business project. It's going to be a win for everyone across all kinds of categories. And what we have to do is create a pipeline today, starting today, into when construction actually starts, because we don't want people to be omitted because they don't have the capabilities today. Let's create those capabilities so the capacity is there on construction day.
Okay, that's Kirtan Mehta, Vice President for Public Affairs with the Commanders, and we're really glad that you're here with us tonight. Table number 2, please say your name and your ward.
Hi, my name is Cassandra White. I'm a homeowner in Ward 7, also a business owner in Ward 7. I just opened my boxing event that's on Danny Hill Girls, Boxing Out Bullets. So excited, Mayor. I'm so excited that you're doing this because I do boxing events all the time. And so I've always wanted to have a state-of-the-art gymnasium. State-of-the-art place. So I'm hoping that you allow us to do some things there, some boxing events that we can do globally, bring people from all over the world to do some tournaments and all that. So thank you again for doing that.
Thank you. And we don't have to wait till 2030, okay? Because we had at the ESA, we can set ESA up for great boxing. I actually think that's our premier boxing venue, and there's some other ideas. So yes, we want to make sure that this space can be built out for a lot of different things, but let's talk about that more, because boxing is let me just tell you about the boxing fan base in DC is real. They follow it, they're loyal, and you may not know this, but we had the #1 grossing boxing match for Showtime, or was it HBO, for one of them at Cat One Arena. So we're also known. Yes, all right. We're also becoming known nationally for attracting fights.
All right, we're going to go 18, 15, 12 in that order. So 18, so we see you. 18?
Okay, right here. He's been raising his hand. Go ahead.
I'm here.
Yep, go ahead.
Hello, panel. My name is Michael Washington, and I've been residents of this area for over 65 years. And going to the Senators game, Redskin game, and all other events. Okay, I live right up the block from here. And I'm hearing these grandioso plans for this money. Oh, I'm for the plan, but do my taxes still have to go up higher and higher and higher, as well as these bike lanes that you put in my area? Right now, the game ain't even at the stadium, but right now it done put so much traffic in my neighborhood. So what are we gonna do about trying to make that better? Bike lanes is creating a havoc, as well as you putting up these corner little sticks to keep people from parking on the corner. I need some help.
Okay, gotcha.
Thank you, Mr. Washington, for your question. A couple of things. To answer your first question in terms of ensuring that your property taxes does not increase, one of the things that my team is working on now is drafting legislation that once this stadium does go through, there's a freeze on your property tax. Now, if you move into the neighborhood after the stadium is developed, then you have to pay the normal property tax, but I'm thinking about that right now. And in terms of the bike lane situation, I understand your woes. I have nothing against cyclists, but I am in constant conversations with the director of DDOT to figure out with the new implementation of bike lanes across Ward 7, how we can be more intentional, but most importantly, engage with neighbors so their quality of life is not disrupted.
All right, we're going to go to table 15.
Hello, how you doing? Good evening. My name is Lorenzo Stewart, and I'm the owner of Val Transportation, a proud DC-based transportation and workforce development company. Our mission is clear: to prepare returning citizens and DC residents for real opportunity. We specialize in training and demand trades like plumbing, HVAC, drywall, electrical, but providing participants with the certifications they need to re-enter the workforce and contribute meaningful to our city economy. As the redevelopment of the RFK Stadium site moves forward, I have one important question. Will there be a mandate or workforce agreement to ensure that a significant percentage of construction and development jobs are reserved for qualified DC residents and especially returning citizens?
Well, thank you for that question. This is probably among one of the greatest opportunities that this project hosts, which is that this entire project will be subject to a first source agreement, which prioritizes DC resident hiring. And as Kirtan Mehta just said, what we want to do is start training people now. So when those jobs are available, whether they're a construction job or whether they're a job that's in the stadium itself, that people are ready and in that pipeline to go. So we'd love to come and talk to you afterwards and make sure that we get your information, because I think that the training program that you just described could be part of that solution.
And I'll just reiterate something that I said earlier. It's going to be absolutely vital to make sure that the certified business enterprise requirements of 35% utilization of CBEs is in place as a floor, but obviously I'm going to be pushing for more. I know that you are a CBE, Lorenzo, and hope to connect you with some of the opportunities that flow from this nearly $4 billion investment. But I will tell you, it's going to be important to make sure that you're in those rooms when some of these opportunities are being discussed by the general contractor that's selected, and it's my role to make sure we're helping to facilitate that. We're doing that currently with the general contractor of the monumental sports renovation. They've been really open and transparent and communicated with my office, and we're going to intend to do the same thing as this project continues. I know there are folks who are representing organized labor. I see Kunta, who's with the Carpenters Union, is here as well. We've had multiple conversations about how to get more DC residents the training that they need so they can participate on these types of projects. We aren't doing it at the level that Kunta would like us to, which is why he's always in my office pushing me and other members of the council to increase the engagement around that. And I intend to continue to do that. I think it's important for those opportunities to flow to people who live here, people who graduate from our schools, folks who are invested, who own homes here, and who have small businesses that are based in Washington, D.C. And I intend to do that with this project as well.
All right, table 12.
My name is Kunta Batney. I'm a Ward 8 resident. And I wanted to speak on how important this development is. I'm a lifelong resident, and I was a knucklehead running the streets. I got my opportunity to come inside the Carpenters Union through the National Park Development. And from there, I worked my way up from apprentice to a journeyman to a foreman. Now I'm a representative with a GED that makes 6 figures a year.
Amen.
So these jobs, these opportunities is so crucial. When we talk about young men and women running the streets, like they need these jobs opportunities, because with the opportunity that I got, it changed my life, and I want to help change more people's lives. So this development needs to happen so that we could get more people to work, so that they could take care of their families like I'm taking care of mine.
Okay, let's see. Table number 9. You say your name, please, ma'am, and your ward.
Okay. I'll hold for myself. Okay. My name is Doris Bishop. I'm the president of River Tourist Community Organization, and I've been a Ward 7 resident for the last 38 years. I'm a political scientist, and I want to share that we presently have 200,000. I'm an Howard alumni, too. We presently have 200,000 vehicles coming across that Benning Road Bridge. And I, as a leader that's representing 800 homes in River Tourist and 2,800 people, I'm always concerned about public safety. I'm also equally concerned about these ATVs that's doing all these flips and cartwheels and all that stuff as they're riding down the road and they're riding through the parks and stuff like that, 60 miles an hour. I'm concerned that we build something for the young people, an ATV track maybe for them, something along those lines. And I'm also concerned about what what we really wanted to see is another hospital here on these grounds, because there's only 7 hospitals in the district, and some of the hospitals are very substandard, as you know, and I would like to see us have something first class, something like Inova Fairfax has, something like Johns Hopkins Hospital. Now, I know that I'm in full support of your efforts here, but I would like to see a state-of-the-art hospital on these grounds, because if you get sick or definitely ill on these grounds at the game or whatever, where are you going to go? You know, where are you going to go? That's so critically important.
Yes, so.
And I just want to piggyback on what the lady said over here about vocational ed, because everybody is not cut out for college. Maybe some people want to be plumbers, electricians, and carpenters. And I would like to see, I would like to see more attention given to our community. There is talk about a rec center for 2026 for us. I've been waiting 30 years for that, and I hope that that does happen at 36 and Eads. And I'm hopeful to see this thing go off, but we need to look at traffic and how it's going to impact the neighbors and if their taxes are going to be driven up and stuff like that.
Okay, well, thank you for those comments. Let me start with the hospital, and because We have a new hospital in Ward 8 in St. Elizabeth's campus in Congress Heights, which will be the closest hospital for RFK. It will cut down probably the closest hospital for a lot of neighborhoods right here in this Ward 7 side, in nearby Ward 6, Navy Yard, and the rest. It becomes the closest hospital is Congress Heights. It's state of the art, and it is waiting for people who need the hospital. But having said that, not everybody needs the hospital. Some people need to go to their doctor, or some people need to go to an urgent care center, and we're also investing in that network of care in neighborhoods in Ward 7 and 8. So we feel really good about the start that we have with Cedar Hill Regional Medical. I note your concern about having more places for young people to go, and we are thinking about a lot of different ways to engage kids who, when we see them, I think the term was, when they're displaying hooligan-like activity. And it's serious, right? Because they can put themselves in harm's way. They're disrupting the peace and quiet for other people. But also, we have to figure out a place for kids to be kids if they're following the rules. And we're continuing to think about that. Say again? You're talking about ATVs. That's a whole different issue, and we'll work on that. Okay, I got you. I got you. I got you. Okay. Okay, we got you.
All right.
I got you.
Okay. All right, we're gonna try to get to the quiet ones in the back. Anybody in the bleachers? Bleachers? Are you in a bleacher? Yes. Who's in a bleacher? Get it? You get it? All right, gentleman with the hat. Please say your name and your ward.
Kimon Freeman, Ward 5 resident, Ward 8 business owner. My question is this. Actually, let me start with saying that Martin Luther King famously said that they have socialism for the rich and capitalism for the poor. How are we justifying giving up development rights around the stadium, I believe 100% of it, to billionaires for $1, when a lot of people are struggling with rent? I think the DMV had the largest rent increase in the entire nation in 2023. That's a report by quite of
it's an erroneous
reputable.
one.
Well, we can go back and do it because Google is our friends.
Well, can't believe everything you read.
Not when it's coming from multinational corporation that report the news. As I was saying before I was kindly interrupted, is that we have to justify the fact that people like Stanley Mays, a reputable business owner, longtime business resident, who has been fined $200,000 and having a second home for vacant tax fines. But we're giving billionaires land for $1. And I want to understand, how are we going to reconcile that? Because the math is not mathing. My studio's on Martin Luther King Avenue. There's a business called the Flower Shop that's been on my block vacant for over 2 or 3 decades, and I know they haven't been fined. So obviously there's some biased tax application in the Office of Tax and Revenue when it comes from businesses to residents. So how is someone like Stanley Mays going to lose his home because of vacant property taxes, and we giving land to billionaires for $1? Why isn't the Office of Racial Equity involved with this to make sure we get an equitable deal? Why isn't people like the Douglas Community Land Trust involved with some percentage of that development to make sure we get an equitable deal and not just continue to, as Martin Luther King said, have socialism for the rich and capitalism for the poor? Where is the mathing for the people of Washington, D.C. in this deal?
Well, we have reviewed, you said a lot of things, so I can't comment on Stanley Mays' tax situation. I'm not that familiar with it, so I won't comment on it. If you're saying there was another business that you mentioned that you said was vacant and not taxed? Okay, we'll have to look at what that situation is. There should be no, everybody should be treated the same way by the tax system. So I'll leave it at that. And your question was, why are we partnering with with the team on certain parcels. Was that the question? Oh, say again? Yes. And so we have you see on the map, we can go back to it, several of the districts the district will develop and several the team will develop. And I kind of call it a master development light. And it's a model that we have followed we followed various models on some of the federal parcels. For example, at St. Elizabeth's, we did not choose a master developer. We're developing one parcel at a time. At the Wharf, we have a master developer. Walter Reed, we have a master developer. At McMillan, we've worked with several. One parcel was a recreation parcel and park, and the other is kind of master developed. So we have used different models to approach all of our federal parcels. We like this one because we think it helps us activate those 3 parcels faster than we would if the district was disposing of them one at a time. We have a very close by example of the length of time that could take if we dispose of it one parcel at a time. It does give us a little bit more control, but it also takes a lot longer. And we have to finance all of the infrastructure rather than allow the development's value to help support the infrastructure development. So I'm gonna ask Nina to talk a little bit about our experience right adjacent to RFK at Hill East with a kind of parcel by parcel development. And it'll give you some sense of why we want a more sped up approach with a master development light here at RFK. You don't want me to answer your question? Okay, but we're gonna answer it anyway because I think it's helpful for the rest of the audience.
So at Hill East, it's about 45 acres. Many of you are probably familiar with the site. We've been able to develop a couple of the parcels, but there's still 30 acres left. In that particular development, the District of Columbia is the one that built out the road network, and it's still building out the road network because we have to finance piece by piece the parks and each of the roads. When you asked why we're offering the sites for $1, it's because in this particular case, the developer is going to be funding the road network in each of the independent parcels. So rather than the district charging the developer money for rent, which would be very difficult, frankly, to calculate from the beginning, but even if we were, then the developer would be coming right back to us and saying, hey, now you need to contribute to the public infrastructure. So the deal, the way funds work, it's fungible. We've been able to, in the Hill East deal, we are the ones taking the risk on the costs of the infrastructure going up and up. And in this particular case, with RFK, the developer is going to be absorbing the cost of the infrastructure of those mixed-use parcels, as well as taking the upside risk. And so we believe that this is the best deal for the district.
Okay, let's go to Madam Mayor. You have a special request for a interpreted question. So we're going to take that right now. An interpreted question.
Hi, I'm deaf, so I'm going to be using the interpreter to translate my comments today. So my name is Jules. I live in Ward 7. And my question is, really, I am just concerned hearing about all these comments in regards to how certain things are going to work in, first, the property for $1. You know, how in DC that they have a lot of different communities in Ward 7 that are struggling to afford cost of living and rent. And additionally, there are people who are also, one moment. Additionally, the team will be getting revenue from the parking, and they are not going to be able, they're not paying taxes on that property. And so DC residents, they are going to be having hidden costs in the form of taxes. So this plan is really supporting, the profit of Josh Harris and other people who are higher ups in DC, and those are the people who are going to be benefiting and not the communities in Ward 7 and not DC communities. And I just want to figure out how we can help DC communities, especially particularly predominantly black and brown communities who are struggling to get by. Considering how those new proposals for waterfront developments, housing, and stadium will be costly and not affordable for residents in Ward 7.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that question. Just a couple of things. I talked about this through my Ward 7 recovery plan, which provides a high-level overview on how we plan to attack some of the long-standing issues that our ward face. The reality is, and I mentioned this during my opening remarks, Ward 7 is the only ward that does not have an anchor, which means that when we're trying to attract businesses to do business and invest in Ward 7, they skip over our ward. So when we talk about stalled projects that will create jobs, that will create the revenue to fund some of our social programs, especially the social programs that our ward rely on so heavily, we're not generating those dollars because we're not generating the capital funds to go into operating funds to support that. So it takes a holistic approach, and as your council member, not only are we focused on the stadium, we're focusing on it because now is the time, but we're equally focused on other projects and other issues across the board. And my staff is in the audience, and we would love to continue the dialogue going, making sure you have our contact information. That's for everybody in here. I want to be mindful of time. I know we just have maybe 5 more minutes of questions. I strongly encourage folks to keep your questions very brief. I don't want to take over here. I got the tendency of doing that. But Donna, if you can maybe take a couple more questions on this side, that would be wonderful.
We promised Sam we were going to take table 11, and then we'll move over.
Good afternoon. My name is Jimmy Jenkins. I'm a Ward 8 resident. I own 2 businesses in Ward 7. One, I just want to commend the mayor for bringing something like this to our city. I hear a lot of people challenge our mayor, and I think some folks speak on this stadium and don't understand what wealth does for people like myself and my friends when this opportunity brings wealth to our community. When you talk about conditions, wealth change conditions. I know a lot of people talk about violence, but violence is the result to us not having opportunities to make wealth in our city. And so that's one thing I wanted to touch on. The other thing was, we talk about the sports complex. I own 12 basketball teams. We struggle with having AAU tournaments hosted here in this town. I know I talked to Ms. Theeney about it a couple of times. I have to travel every summer. I talked to Kenyon before. I spend over $100,000 every summer to travel to all these major cities for major tournaments. And to have some of that magnitude, we need that. And the last thing I want to just talk about is to ensure that young people are a part of these conversations. I come in these conversations and we look around and we don't have youth here and we're concerned about them, but we should maybe host a town hall for the young people because in 5 years, they'll be 18, 19, 20 years old, right? And I know we say, DC residents, but I want to touch on DC natives, right? It's important that natives are a part of this process. When you talk about jobs, business owners, workforce, I know myself right across the street for the last 2 years. I want to thank the mayor and her team. We've been hosting apprenticeship programs at DC Jail where we're training residents who are returning home, painting, plumbing, and HVAC. And so we would love for them to be a part of this process as well. So I didn't hear too much about bonding, right? I think that's important as well. So I know I was all over the place, but I was trying to get it all in because I don't want council member to be upset.
Thank you.
All right. Table number 10, please. Table 10.
Kwame, you had your hand raised? I'm
Thank
sorry.
you.
I thought, oh.
Thank you. My name is Fraser Walton, and I'm with the Kingman Park Civic Association, the historic Kingman Park Civic Association. And I just want to say that our organization, this is Kingman Park, was the first organization to support the construction of the new stadium and the development around it. We're very happy about the work that you're doing. Sometimes you believe that your council representatives are not working, but you've done a great job. And I want to point out that there was talk about law enforcement. Well, we saw this stadium built, RFK, in 1957 through 1960. I'm 75 years old. We played on the construction site. Amen. We saw the jobs that came with the stadium. We saw the police protection. Next door is the National Guard Armory. We'll be the safest environment in the city because we have the military and we have law enforcement to take care of any law enforcement problems that occur. Third, and most important, we're asking that you build an Olympic-sized swimming pool in the complex. We have Howard University with one of the national champions in swimming now. I ran track across the street at Eastern High School. But I want to say that swimming is more important at this point because there are scholarships throughout the country that can be given to our young people. And finally, I want to say that we need the river wall fixed, and that will come with the construction of this stadium, the environmental issues. So I want to thank you again, and I want to thank everyone that supports this construction.
All right. We played on a construction site.
So I think we're going to go 10 more minutes. I think that's what we have been allowed to do. So we're going to go to table 22. Please say your name and your ward.
My name is Edward Luthi. I'm with the DC Vault. I'm a Ward 6 resident off of Lincoln Park. I'm a Ward 7 business owner, DC Vault, also the only business owner on RFK campus. Mayor Bowser is familiar with us. For anybody who's not, we train pole vaulters, like this girl right here. This is Lauren. We were a little bit late coming in because we were at practice across the street with our athletes. Mayor Bowser, first of all, your team has been wonderful. I just wanted to give them kudos. Pam, Eric, the guys have been great in reaching out. I'm hoping to meet with them soon, talk to us about where we might be able to relocate on the campus. We feel comfortable and confident that they're helping us with that. Events DC has also been great. I don't see any folks here, but just so you're aware, they're really doing a good job on that. Councilmember Felder has been wonderful supporting. I think Kirtan's going to be meeting with us pretty soon to talk a little bit about that. Really, I just wanted to invite you. I heard you talking about professional athletes at the Sportsplex, so you're aware that we host the Pole Vault Championships right here on RFK campus every year. June 28th this year, we have 3 Olympic athletes coming in. The U.S. national record holder will be there. World champion will be there. Men's and women's NCAA national champions will be there. Athletes like Lauren will be there competing alongside them. We'd love to see you there so you can kind of get a sense of what we do, and hopefully we'll be a part of the future campus here. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you for that invite.
All right, table 17.
Hi, my name is Alexis Pazmino. I live in Ward 7. I'm a homeowner in Kingman Park. Thank you for coming here and for finally speaking to Ward 7, specifically Kingman Park residents, although I do hope that you all come visit for a specifically Kingman Park discussion. I'd like to paint you a picture. Every day I walk my dog from my house down to Oklahoma Avenue. I walk on the green space. I enjoy the fresh air. Now with the current plan, Kingman Park District is going to be Kingman Parking Lot. Now, I appreciate, Mayor Bowser, your consideration for moving those 2 parking decks, but I would like 2 commitments. One, a dog park with a little dog area for my little baby.
Okay.
And two, no parking decks in Kingman Park District.
Okay, so thank you for that. For those are very specific recommendations. I don't know if a dog park has been considered yet, but I think it could be part of the 30% park. So why don't we keep that conversation going? I would say that. And on the parking decks, I think your neighbor and our neighbor, I think it was Michael, had some very good suggestions. So what I want to go back to our designers and teams as we progress, I want to say this, that we're at a stage where we don't have well-developed plans because we don't have an approved agreement, okay? As we move forward, we start developing more well-prepared plans, talking to architects, and it gets more real. So I think that the concerns that have been raised about where the parking lots are valid, and they can advance in a more developed plan. So I actually think their parking lots now at RFK, let's just level set here. That's what it is now. It's a parking lot. And so what we're talking about will give us trails and decks and interesting things to look at, and lights and other people. It will become a vibrant area, not just the parking lot.
I appreciate that, Mayor, but Oklahoma Avenue specifically,
Okay.
it's a main artery
Of course.
to our community. So
Of
I
course.
really do discourage traffic and traffic backup and idling cars polluting our air when they come in to park on Oklahoma Avenue. So I really do discourage any parking on Oklahoma Avenue, which is a main artery for
Okay,
us.
so you were just talking about the garages. You were talking about Orange Street, or you were talking about the garages close to Oklahoma Avenue. Got it. Okay, I got it. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go to table number 5, please. Table 5.
Okay, speak now.
Good evening, Mayor. My name is Francis Campbell, and Councilman Felder, Councilman McDuffie, thank you for doing this. I have a couple of questions. I'll make them brief. You said 180 acres, and of 180 acres, 30% of that has to be set aside. And NCPC back in 21 said that there's also 80 acres of that 180, which is the floodplain, the 100 and the 500-year floodplain. So if you can't build on the floodplain, and 54 acres has to be set aside as a 30% green space, that leaves you roughly 146 acres. So my question is, if we're doing that math, how do you, or where do you put in the retail, the housing, and all the other things that everybody is talking about and wants?
Well, we have a map, Francis, that highlights where we believe all of these uses can go on the site.
I saw that, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but also, if you're talking, if the 30%, is that inclusive, or does that include that floodplain area that you ordinarily could not build on?
I think that's additive to what is also referred to as the riparian area along the banks of the Anacostia. That's 30 acres.
Well, if you said 30% of the 180 acres, that's 54 acres. So that's my question. Maybe I'm not being clear. If you have 30% and you have set aside, and you also have the floodplain area that you can't build on, what does that leave you as far as viable space for your retail? Because you also said the stadium itself is going to be 25 acres. All right, so if we're taking all that together, it seems like it exceeds what's actually going to be, and I do support the stadium.
Okay, the Plaza District would be mixed use, mostly commercial, retail, entertainment. The Kingman Park that we've kind of coined it would be housing recreation. The recreation would just be that, recreation and sportsplex. The riverfront area would include the third garage, and it could include housing uses as well. The Anacostia Commons is undeveloped riparian area along the banks of the Anacostia.
Does that include the floodplain area?
Yes, if we're using the same terms.
It's a different technicality, but we're estimating that the developable area is about 100 acres.
Okay, does that include the stadium?
The
At 100 acres?
The stadium is only
All right,
16
so-
acres.
The stadium is 16, not 25.
All right, I stand corrected.
It's okay. It's like, I
Did-
gotta add up all those numbers sometimes
I was gonna
myself.
say, conversations like this help provide clarity, so it's always good.
Okay,
Mr.
so I think we are winding up on the time that we have, so why don't we take 2 questions over here, 1, 2, 1, okay, 2, oh gosh. You all are making, okay, all right, but we're coming
Yes.
up on 2 hours.
Former Council Member Kwame Brown, please.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Mayor, we want to thank you and your team for coming as a native Washingtonian, graduate of DC Public Schools, graduate of Maryberry Summer Job Program, but I want, and Ward 7 resident and a Ward 7 business. I want to thank you for what's going on with being over here in this area, in this ward. There's many mayors that have tried to do something, and quite frankly, they haven't been able to pull it off. And you and your team has pulled it off, and the council has an opportunity to approve it. But I want people to realize that it's a vision just not for this campus. And sometimes we look at Ward 7 as just this little area right here at RFK that's going to be developed. But I want to thank you, your team, Nina Albert, and Councilmember Felder, because even across the bridge, there'll be a Northeast Heights project, which is $1 billion project, which people have been waiting to see that shopping center develop. So the first time I've seen a mayor come and work on both sides of the bridge and to be able to develop just not this particular area, but also an area that's been waiting for years to be developed. It's nothing worse to continue to drive past here and see broken down RFK Stadium and then going over there across the bridge and seeing what we have over there. But if you go this way, you see the baseball stadium, you see the Southwest Waterfront, you see the Navy Yard, and for the first time, we're gonna have our stadium and our development at our Navy Yard, which will be the Northeast Heights project on Minnesota and Benny Road. So I know we get lost sometimes,
Yep.
but that's a lot
Thank
going
you.
on,
Yes.
and because of you and your team, we want to appreciate you for that.
Thank you. And so if I could just add to that, council member, because it is an important point, that activity sometimes begets other activity. And that's why the district goes in first sometimes. Even at Northeast Benning, we're kind of going in first because we moved DGS there across the street. Same thing in Anacostia. We moved DOH and DHCD into those buildings. So the district went in first to start the activity. And Andy, you may not like me bringing this up because he told me in a meeting, but he says, you know what, people are calling me, what's that area you have next door, Hill East? I've got some investor interest in Hill East. And so the same thing is going to happen at Northeast Heights because of what's happening here. Now, the opposite is also true. If we don't approve this deal, if we don't get started, we are not a jurisdiction that's serious about attracting private investment and revenue in the city. Okay, I think we're gonna have our last questions on this side. Yep. You wanna call them out?
Yes, Saida, please.
Okay.
Maria Patricia Corrales, Ward 4. Thank you so much for having this event. I would like to just tell you a little bit of history here with me. Back in 2010, I did the demolition of Building 42 across the street, RFK Stadium, and I also participated in the renovation of the Kingman Island Trail. Therefore, I'm very familiar with the area, and my ask is to take serious to the small businesses, especially the women ones, that I have not heard anything. I would like to champion on women of my age to actually make the effort of being in construction, being in trades. But thank you so much for the opportunity, and I hope I can be at your table.
All right, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
One more question? Table 20, please. Last question.
Sure. David, Ward 7. I live on Oklahoma Ave, immediately across from the 180 acres. I want to start just by commending the mayor for getting 180 acres for the district from the feds. That was an enormous uphill battle. No matter what happens, kudos to you. I think we talked a lot tonight about what's permitted to happen on the land and things that can be built. There are in the federal legislation, though, requirements that what must happen on the land. So I think the open park space for the residents of Kingman Park is extremely important. It's not just a parking lot. The largest green space that currently exists is right across from Oklahoma Ave. We would like to maintain that and have space for the residents and not be blocked from the river. That's another part of the federal legislation, is that improved access to the river. Your slides hit on it briefly, but I think building parking lots between us and the river is cutting that off. But taking that part out of it, I do think the Anacostia is underutilized, and no matter where it's at, I think some small boat ramp access, things like that, that actually get residents on the water and in that neighborhood would be phenomenal. But thank you. We look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I want to ask members on the panel if they have any last words.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'll be brief. I just want to thank everyone for coming out to tonight's town hall, and I want to strongly encourage neighbors of Ward 7 to be on the lookout for our community listening sessions. The first one will be held next Thursday, May 29th, at Marshall Heights Community Development Organization from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. You should have received the flyer at the sign-in table. If not, please see members of my team. Once again, thank you all, and looking forward to working with you guys throughout the entire duration of this process. Thank you.
Thank you.